Race number 9 for the World Championship from Dallas, Texas on CBS live flag-to-flag coverage. Normally, pre-race is the calm before the storm. It is the eye of the hurricane of this 2.4-mile course at Dallas, Texas Fairgrounds.
For the British Grand Prix, where he was finally going to get a chance to show himself off before his home crowd. It is a serious problem when the track breaks up anywhere. It's very serious because it becomes virtually undrivable on modern slick racing tires. There is no tread, so when you get up on the old asphalt where it's peeled away, it becomes just like riding on ball bearings. It's impossible.
Well, there you see the lights and you see the field coming online for the start of the Dallas Grand Prix. Start. The Lotuses in front. Nigel Mansell pulls out in front from Great Britain, from England, originally out of Birmingham. And here's the field through this very twisty series of S's, and it's right at the end of that pit road that they claim is the fastest part of the course for the turbos.
Here we see them winding down to the through that left and right-hand complex. The first sharp corner there just behind them. Now they're coming to a place where the track's broken up. There you can see the new concrete surface. Let's just hope it stays looking like that for the rest of the afternoon. René Arnoux, in fact, for some reason or other, pulled up, and there's Elio De Angelis having a bit of a moment there as he goes round that hairpin, coming onto the straight up to the fast dogleg now.
18 turns, 7 right, 11 left, 2.42 miles. As the Dallas Grand Prix controversial event is underway. And the Lotuses are running first and second with the third-place car, belonging now to the Renault team. Warwick maintaining that third position.
And right behind him is the young Ayrton Senna in the Tolman Hart. But Ayrton has a definite heat problem. He cannot last in heat, and the chances of him finishing this race, I would say, are pretty slim. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong, but he does have a problem with heat. And obviously, this is the hottest he's ever raced.
There you see, running the 5th position, McLaren, and that would be Niki Lauda. And back in the 7th position is Alain Prost, currently the #1 driver in the world standings. A French driver has never won the world crown.
There we see them streaming. Nigel Mansell holding a nice lead there. There we see, that looks like François Hesnault coming back.
François Hesnault, first retiree for the event, as you watch Nigel Mansell. That brings back memories of 1978, Ronnie Peterson, Mario Andretti. When they won the front row 5 times that year, and of course it went on to Andretti's World Championship, the loss of Ronnie Peterson in it.
Those are back in the halcyon days for Lotus, and there we see Hesnault's Ligier. Obviously had a contretemps with the wall or that tyre barrier. We saw him running across the road, so he's obviously all right. But that's one less car. There's only 24 out there already. This is going to be a race of very high attrition. There's no doubt about it. What the track doesn't get, there we see Mansell getting out of step there. Derek Warwick coming around that hairpin. Making a bit of ground now on Niki Lauda in that car number 8. And here we see, oh, there's somebody else spun. That looks like, nobody at the moment, I can't see the number. The Fokker guys seem to have got a bit of a phobia about putting decent numbers on cars. They say you should be able to recognize the helmets. That is in fact Senna. That's number 19, Ayrton Senna.
And his teammate John Giacotto just pitted.
Ooh, tried to do a 3-point turn there, and that didn't work either. Nigel Mansell still streaming along in the lead. Not one of the world's luckiest drivers, Nigel.
Nigel Mansell, that finished previously, has been third. See a safety car on the course. Safety car picking up the field here.
Now, what on earth they've done that for, I don't quite know. Because Senna's car could be pushed well out of the way. Unless they've done it for Hesnault's car, which we can't exactly see where it is. But the last thing we want in this race is too much of this pace car fiasco.
Could turn it into a saloon car race here. Warwick is in 3rd. Warwick is 4th. Lauda 5th. And up into the 6th position moves Keke Rosberg. Rosberg taking over in the 6th spot as you watch Nigel Mansell continuing to lead.
Keke Rosberg actually should be in this race with a pretty good chance, because he and his teammate Jacques Laffite are the only people wearing an apparatus, a cool hat, a skull cap which goes under the helmet, and it's an incredible device, a Dennis Carlson cool suit, and it really does work, and they're the only 2 people here with it, and I think as the race wears on, it's really going to help those 2 drivers.
Nigel Mansell, who likes to refer to himself as the street fighter. He likes these tight courses, artificial courses such as they have at Detroit. We'll see how much he likes this one. He was exhausted at Detroit.
Well, he's going to be exhausted here because apart from the fact that it's very tight, it's also very bumpy. You can see that from the way all their heads and wings are shaking about. And that in itself takes a tremendous physical toll on you.
Elio De Angelis lies in second. De Angelis has not finished worse than 7, and he's finished every race this year for Team Lotus, and he lies well under points, currently third.
Right behind him, Derek Warwick, also from Britain, and behind there we see Niki Lauda coming around that corner, losing a bit of ground on this leading trio. And in fact, Derek Warwick looks to me as if he can get by De Angelis, he'd probably pull away from him a little bit.
Pass being attempted here as Warwick tries to move in the Renault, and those are both Renault-powered cars.
Get very close to the wall there on that left-hand sweep as they come down this tight, very bumpy braking approach to this tight first gear hairpin. Accelerate up through 3 gears there. Back 1 for the turn that's right here in front of our announcing booth. Nigel Mansell building up a reasonably healthy lead as he bumps into that turn 1 double right-handed complex. There we start to see him turn left. Tricky corner that, very tricky.
Mansell closing up to lap Ayrton Senna now.
Nigel coming up to lap somebody already, and it is in fact Johnny Cecotto in the other Tolman.
And so the race is underway. Some said the drivers might take 6 laps and bring them in. Here's a low-angle shot as you watch Nigel Mansell trying to get around that lap car, and it really brings them right down to the gearbox. First tough, tight course, and then some extreme. This course is about 10 miles an hour faster than the course at Detroit. Just as twisting, just as serpentine.
Now Nigel Mansell will be, his blood pressure will be rising unbelievably as Johnny Cecotto consistently holds him off and won't let him by. And there's nothing more irritating, I can tell you, than when you're trying to lap a slower car and he won't let you by. And it's not as if Johnny Cecotto is exactly in the running at the moment.
The 2-time world motorcycle champion from Venezuela now lets Nigel Mansell through, waved him through after they went through those hard series of S's. Mansell looking for his first world championship race for possible 9 points here today. And there in the background, you see Elio De Angelis and Derek Warwick. Here's Warwick challenging for another time. And Warwick is finding the line to take second place.
Braves his way through there, because you've got to be brave here, because if it all goes wrong and you just tag the wall, that's all she wrote, as Mario Andretti would so pathetically say. Over another of those patch surfaces. This is a tight right-hander there, first gear.
There you see.
And Derek Warwick has in fact put a lot of daylight between himself and Elio De Angelis down this pit straight here as they go through that right and left complex. It'll be interesting to see if he can make any ground on this man, Nigel Mansell, who's got a very comfortable lead at the moment.
Nigel Mansell's lead beginning to evaporate. There's that lap car, the factor, and closing ground rapidly is Derek Warwick in the second position, followed by Elio De Angelis. Let's go to Chris Economaki. Let's see if we can get a word from Chris Economaki on pit road.
That first lap pit stop by 1 car for tires, uh-oh, here comes another one, has alerted everyone to the possibility of emergency tire changes. Every team in pit road has their tireman out, and now we just have the second car coming in. That broken up part of the track is apparently a concern to those along pit road as far as tires are concerned. Back to you, Ken.
So there's the story. It is a tire story, as you see Senna's car in and coming on the track, or rather Cecotto's car. No, Senna's car.
Senna's car.
Senna's car back in the pits, changing tires, and here we are back once again with Nigel Mansell, who is set on the pole the first day a couple of times this year, but not seen it stand up. At Monaco, first day of qualifying, he was there and then slid back. But here, after the first day, he didn't even elect to run the second day and pulled it off. Car number 12, Nigel Mansell for Lotus, trying to bring them back into winning form.
There's no doubt about it, the Lotus car this year has improved tremendously. The Renault engine is very strong, pretty reliable, and the Lotus chassis now that Gerhard Berger, the Frenchman who worked for Matra and for Renault, has joined the team. The chassis has really improved tremendously, and this could be their first win.
Now this race is scheduled for 68 laps or 2 hours, whichever comes first. We'll be back with more from the 1984 Dallas Grand Prix in a moment. After 5 of 67 laps, Nigel Mansell leads with a 3-second advantage over the second-place competitors, Derek Warwick, and Elio De Angelis is maintaining third. We see Niki Lauda still in fourth. Keke Rosberg is holding the 5th position now. Sixth is Prost, 7th is Tambay, Alboreto is 8th.
Keke could be in with a good chance later on in this race wearing that cool hat. It's going to help him a lot, although that car hasn't proven to be particularly reliable this year.
The average speed of the leader in the last lap was 81.599 miles per hour.
Derek Warwick making a lot of ground on Nigel Mansell now, catching up handily, but that average speed, of course, brings to mind yet another complication for the Dallas Grand Prix, and that is that the average speed they're setting at the moment, this race will run for more than 2 hours. So instead of being a 67-lap race, it'll turn into a timed race, and at 2 hours from the start, it will finish.
Back with the leader, Nigel Mansell. Meanwhile, further back, Niki Lauda has now passed De Angelis and has moved into 3rd position. Lauda for Team McLaren, working on his 22nd Grand Prix win and his 3rd of the year, has now moved up a spot to be 3rd overall in the Dallas Grand Prix. Back with Mansell another time. Nigel Mansell of Great Britain throwing this beautiful Lotus-Renault powered car around the course. The man who was a handicapped 4 golfer and an excellent play pigeon shot, taking dead aim at winning the Dallas Grand Prix and winning his first World Championship race. Here he is, Mansell still in the front-running position, and Derek Warwick is definitely closing ground. The 3-second advantage he was enjoying is now beginning to shrink.
Yes, well, they both got the same power output, and I have a feeling that the Lotus chassis is slightly better than the Renault, but I wouldn't want to be racing Derek Warwick around here today. He's an extremely accomplished driver.
So 2 English drivers now lead the Dallas Grand Prix. One for an English team and the other for a French team, both turbo-powered cars. And these 600 to 700 horsepower turbo cars flashing right by us now, they may strangulate out here.
Well, they're obviously going to generate a tremendous amount of heat, and I guess that Nigel was hoping for a relatively easy run. But if he gets pushed hard by Derek Warwick, obviously they're going to have to keep the boost up. That keeps the temperature up. And of course, everything gets hot, from oil to water to tires, and of course, not least the driver. The harder he works, the hotter he gets.
Nigel Mansell, whose ambition is to win a Grand Prix race and then become the first amateur to win the British Open Golf. There's a battle for 10th. You see 5 cars there.
There we see a whole galaxy of cars there, led by, that's Eddie Cheever, car number 23, being hotly pursued by a whole gaggle of cars. Fabi, Stefan Bellof, Ghinzani, and the Ferrari of Arnoux coming up at the back there.
Tires still are the issue of the moment. Let's go back to the pits for this report.
Well, I'm with Peter Gedding, an Englishman who knows what it's like to win a Grand Prix against another Englishman, won the Italian Grand Prix against Mike Hailwood. Peter, a battle between 2 English drivers. We haven't seen that for a long time.
No, it's nice to see, especially over here in the States.
Who's going to win the battle?
At the moment, I'd put money on Derek. I think over the race distance, providing his car doesn't have a problem, I'd have a good bet on him.
You've had 2 cars come in. You've had Ayrton Senna and Riccardo come in. What was the tyre situation on those 2 cars?
Riccardo came in after the first lap with a puncture on a left front. We can't see a reason for it. Senna came in because he was 4th on the first lap. He spun on the 2nd lap. 3rd lap, he did a very quick lap. 4th lap, he clipped a curb and put a puncture in the right rear, so he's had to come in and change the wheel also.
Are we going to have other people coming in for unscheduled tyre pit stops?
I think you're going to have 2 hours of unscheduled tyre stops, amongst other stops, all sorts of stops.
Thank you. Back to you, Ken.
Nigel Mansell, who these days lives on the Isle of Man, right near the famed TT motorcycle course there, leading with Derek Warwick, 2 drivers who have yet to taste victory in a World Championship race, running 1 and 2 in the event. The twice world champion Niki Lauda is in 3rd. De Angelis falls to 4th. Rosberg is 5th. Prost is 6th. And let's look at the battle for 3rd. And continuing to build up Niki Lauda. continues to wind them in here.
Niki Lauda is one of the most vociferous people that wanted this race at least postponed for a few hours. But as usual, once he's out there, he's putting on a fantastic show. Got round Elio De Angelis, and of course there, right behind Elio De Angelis, is Keke Rosberg in the Honda Williams. Also a very strong contender in this race.
Patrese has just pitted the second V8 Alfa Romeo turbo car, and we noticed that Cheevers covers his helmet over with that aluminum foil that is also being used by both of the Brabham teams today. Another way to cope with the heat.
Stefan Bellof. Stefan Bellof's come to grief again. Stefan's an extremely fast driver, one of the young lions, but he does have a tendency to hit things rather at the moment.
Stefan Bellof of West Germany, who had that brilliant third place at Monaco.
He was in that very violent race there for 8th or 10th through 16th position we were looking at a few moments ago.
In 9th position when he went off. There's Stefan Bellof walking away from the Dallas Grand Prix.
Not a good day for Ken Tyrrell, because his other driver, Martin Brundle, also a young Englishman, hit the wall the other day and broke his ankle and a bone in the other leg. So he'll be out of action for about 8 weeks. And there's Ken's had a pretty expensive weekend, and neither driver's going to finish, obviously. Nigel Mansell being now very hotly pursued by Derek Warwick.
Nelson Piquet, the winner of the last 2 Grand Prix, is on the move. He started 12th today, and he has moved up to 8th as he tries to win 3 in a row.
Nelson Piquet's car looked very good to me in practice. I was watching some of the bumpier corners. It seemed to handle the bump pretty well. But Nelson himself has a little bit of a problem with the heat. But he also has tremendous determination. If he wants to keep going, he damn well will. I think Chris has got something to say to us in the pits.
Yes, I'm with Jean Sarge, the team manager for Renault. John, Warwick is closing on the leader. What is the strategy? A non-stop race or what with a pit stop?
You know, we decide during the race because we are in relationship with drivers through the radio, and if the tires are last the whole race, we will not stop. But you know, it's a decision we can take at every moment during the race because we talk to the drivers.
Good for you. Thank you very much, Jean Sarge. Back to you, Kev.
Well, I'm with the only American driver in the race. Eddie, it must be a very big disappointment for you, this.
It's not really a big disappointment because the car really wasn't running that well. We had a bit of problems. I was losing turbo pressure from the first laps, and I was having a lot of problem coming out of the hairpins.
Eddie, you're the only driver we've been able to talk to who's been on this controversial track. What's it like?
I didn't hear your question, sorry.
Oh, back to Ken. We'll come back to Eddie Cheever in a moment.
There is the second place car, Derek Warwick's car, which has come up against the retainer. Derek Warwick, who is running in second place, is another victim of this Dallas Grand Prix. His car bunched up against the tire retainers.
Well and truly jammed in there. It looks like it's on the apex of a corner, so they might have to do some slowing of the field down here to extricate him. What a shame for Derek Warwick. He was going so well. Niki Lauda now starting to apply a bit of pressure on this man, Nigel Mansell, running in the lead, but Niki Lauda's not far behind him, and not a good guy to have running very close behind him.
So as Warwick goes down, Lauda goes to second, De Angelis to third, Rosberg moves to fourth, Prost goes to fifth, Patrick Tambay to sixth, Nelson Piquet comes up a spot to seventh. We watch Derek Warwick walking away. Moving up to eighth is De Cesaris, and then comes Michele Alboreto next.
Tambay, Piquet, and De Cesaris, in fact, having a pretty good old dice down there in wherever they are. 7th, 8th, and 9th spot.
We have a replay of what happened to the second place car.
Well, it looks as if he was trying to take first away from Nigel.
Shot it in there and overshot the corner.
Yeah, he was trying to outbrake him into that chicane, which is one of the few places here that you can pass people. And Nigel obviously wasn't going to let him in easily and paid the penalty.
Let's go to Barry Gill.
Well, Eddie?
Yes, I think so. We came here to race, and that's what we're going to do, and I believe the organizers made a mistake not putting the asphalt down beforehand. And I hope that next year they learn from the lesson, they do a better job than they did this year. The track is good, except there's a big mistake in the way they put the asphalt down, and it's coming up.
A positive reaction from Eddie Cheever. We hope we see you win here next year, Eddie. Thanks for talking to us. Back to you, Ken.
Eddie Cheever, out of Arizona, the only American in Grand Prix racing, and as at Detroit, his V8 Alfa Romeo has problems in the going. A bad break for Eddie Cheever, who wanted to perform well here. As you note, the Lotuses are back running 1 and 2. relegating Niki Lauda back to the 3rd position.
Well, De Angelis is obviously driving very well. Now, I don't know, but it looks as if Nigel must be having a problem because De Angelis is winding him in ever so quickly, and so, of course, are the other 4 cars in that group. There we see the world champion leader at the back of that group, Alain Prost, number 7. Just in front of him is Keke Rosberg, and in front of him, of course, is Niki Lauda. And here's the 2 leaders, and it looks as if Nigel's losing steam somewhere.
Prost in the 5th position. Front 5 all together, and Nigel Mansell trying to fend them off.
That's as good a race as you'll see in Formula 1 right there for the top 5 positions.
There's Prost in the tail end of that quintet. And here comes a challenge for the lead.
Ooh, don't take both Lotuses out, Nigel.
Nigel Mansell stays in front after 11 laps, working the 12th lap. If it goes to laps, they will have 67 laps to run. But the feeling generally is it will be stopped by the clock at the end of 2 hours. Now, most of the Formula 1 races have been running a 1 hour 35 minute to a 1 hour 45 minute period this year.
We've just had a message that I guess Elio De Angelis overtook Niki Lauda under the yellow, and that may mean some sort of...
His teammate lies there in 2nd overall, and they continue to fluctuate the positions just behind. Keke Rosberg is now being shown as in the 3rd position. The Williams Honda having one of its better days right now.
Yeah.
Back in the 4th and 5th position, nose to tail, come the McLaren, the tag Porsches. And as they run, it is Lauda, followed directly by Prost. And then lurking just behind them comes Patrick Tambay. Here's the report from Chris Economaki.
Okay, I have Derek Warwick.
It's not as, it's as bad as Zolder. We had a problem with Zolder. It's about the same.
That's a tough break. Thanks very much, Derek. Back to you, Ken.
The front 3 into the main straightaway and closing rapidly is Rosberg. The Williams Honda, the Honda-powered turbo car, moving up on those 2 leaders.
Well, there's a lot of people say that the Honda engine, in fact, although it's a 6-cylinder, has got the most power currently in Grand Prix racing, and that could be anywhere from 700 to 1,000 at the current state of the art. These cars give huge amounts of horsepower. In the race, they cut it down a bit because of the fuel limit, but they still race on about 700, 725 horsepower, which with a car weighing 1,200 pounds is plenty.
Most wins in a season went to Team Lotus in 1978 with 8 wins recorded. Mario Andretti collecting 6 that year, and the late Ronnie Peterson 2. For the black and gold of Team Lotus continuing to run 1st and 2nd here, but now feeling the power of Williams as Rosberg is having absolutely one of his best days thus far in 1984.
And they're coming up to lap Dr. Jonathan Palmer in the Skull Bandit, and Jonathan is not one of the easiest people in Grand Prix racing to lap, but he is in fact making extremely big effort there to let them all through. Good old Johnny, I say. I expect that's what they were saying as well. Not so good for Jonathan, though, who's obviously having another bad day. His Formula 1 racing this year hasn't been too good, and he, in fact, is at the opposite end of the spectrum from a Keke Rosberg or a Elio De Angelis, in as much as Palmer himself is having to pay some money to keep himself in that seat. He's having to find the money to keep himself in that seat.
Nigel Mansell, the man who hates hotels, but loves racing more than anything, had a terrible crash back in 1977, has made a fine comeback, was a test driver for Lotus for some time, continues to lead. The issue is, can he stay there and win this race?
Well, Rosberg's going to give him a hard time at the moment, breathing down the neck of those 2 low tires. And the 2 McLaren seem to have faded just a little bit at the moment, but I feel sure that once Prost gets around Niki Lauda, he'll put on a pretty strong charge in the front. There we see them come into view now, and right behind them now is Patrick Tambay in the other Renault. In fact, having a go at Lauda, Prost has got by Lauda, and Patrick Tambay wants to get by too.
Prost picking up a position to take 4th, Lauda back to 5th, and there you see Tambay in 6th. As you recall, earlier this year, Rosberg finished 2nd at Brazil, but by the end of Brazil, there just weren't many cars running. Thus far today, for the Williams Honda, this has been an outstanding performance as they continue to keep him right in the hunt for that 1st position. Back with the leaders. And here is Mansell, who looked for a while like he was having trouble, but that's not the story now. There are 16 laps complete, and if it runs by the clock, there is 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 2 seconds remaining in the event. after a half hour, 16 laps down. This race could well be decided by the clock, and I think that would be the first time in modern history that we've seen it come down. It's a
speed that they all thought they would do around here. Tremendous race going on at the back of the field again, but unfortunately, where my man Boutsen's getting wiped up again.
Battle for the race. Nigel Mansell first. Elio De Angelis maintaining that second position. And there is the Finnish world champion of 1982, Keke Rosberg, maintaining third.
Keke, known to American viewers, of course, for his sterling efforts in the cannon a few years back.
De Angelis, an enormously wealthy family in Italy, runs the largest construction company in Rome. And his father goes to most of the F1 races.
There's Alliot having another go at his teammate.
Elio De Angelis in the number 11. He says that when it's over, he wants to be a composer. He plays pretty good piano.
Well, he can go to the bar.
I don't think he'll be ready for it.
His little old fingers will be a bit tired.
De Angelis changing his line and making a shot at Mansell once again as they come down. Now this is where Nigel Mansell was telling me he found the quickest part of the course. Right here. It's into this arcing right corner that he says you can get about 150, 155 miles an hour. And although there's some straightaways that look faster, that's not the case.
That looks like Huub Rothengatter, the Dutch driver, driving the Spirit Cosworth. Qualified fairly low down on the field, and obviously something's either gone wrong or he's hit something. Couldn't see from that. Couldn't have been too bad because they were rolling the car.
Three cars
to go very slow the first laps and go behind Fabi without problems. The car is good, and the track was so slippery. And then maybe I make a mistake, but I was so slow in the corner. Come out with the 2 out tires on the cement, and the car slides straight in the wall. So I can nothing do, and it's very bad for me. But I like to go here on the points, and now I have no chance again.
What you're really saying, Stefan, is that the new cement was really responsible for your retiring?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think the race should have been held?
No. The asphalt, they come off in front of the happen totally. They hold stones on the track. It's very, very bad.
How many finishes do you think there are going to be?
Maybe I hope I can finish in the points, of course, but no.
How many finishes do you think there'll be in the race now, Stefan?
Yeah. I think only 6 cars.
In the event. Here's Nigel Mansell still in the first position. Rosberg there now attacking.
He's got a real handful there. Rosberg having a go at him now. Mansell going to get by this time. Rosberg is really going to go here at old Nigel. He's going to try and wear him down. Mind you, Nigel's no mood to be worn down. He wants to win this Grand Prix, be his first ever.
Here he comes another time.
Right, they touched wheels, I think, then.
1,200-pound car, you touch wheels, and that may be the end of any touching or feeling for some time.
Yeah, it's not like a 4,000-pound NASCAR car. This is serious stuff when these wheels touch, because they obviously very sticky tires. Rosberg seems to have got more acceleration there out of that hairpin, but still can't quite use it. There we see them screaming down the pit straight now. Both of them pulling away from Elio De Angelis. So I think that when Nigel was in the lead and Angelis was behind him, that Nigel was deliberately keeping the pace down to try and conserve the car, because they're both pulling away very quickly now from De Angelis, and obviously there's no conservation now. Nigel wants to stay in the lead.
Back in the 4th position is Prost. Lauda is in 5th, and Patrick Tambay is in the 6th position. Piquet is 7th, Arnoux is 8th. Corrado Fabi is running 9th. Michele Alboreto is 10th. Well, thus far, the track does seem to be holding together out here, David.
Well, the drivers who've got out have complained about a bit of marbling, but it certainly can't be seen on some of those close-in corner shots, and I don't think it can be all that bad. No, it obviously is holding up quite well.
Whenever you build a new course like this, remember the first Detroit Grand Prix, you always come up with something slightly amiss because it's an entire artificial course. Very hard to put one of these things together. Plus, we're just delighted we didn't get delayed at the start.
Course builders and promoters also seem to have a perverse delight in laying asphalt as near the race date as possible. They always talk about how it's going to be laid with plenty of time to cure, and they in fact always lay it, preferably the day before the race.
Here he comes. Rosberg again is sideways and almost blew it and lost it. Picked it back up. Hadn't been a champion, you'd have had a couple of walls there.
Nigel's the one that's under pressure, but Rosberg is inclined to try a little bit too hard sometimes, and really there's a long way to go in this race yet, and if he can just keep hounding away at Nigel, there's no need to go and bust the car up to get by him.
I think that third place car, De Angelis, is just taking a wait-and-see situation here.
Well, yes, if you see two guys racing like that in front of you, there's a fairly good chance that you're going to be instantly elevated to first position. Yes, so he's going to wait and see.
The 20-lap average speed has been 80.673 miles per hour in round 9 of the 1984 World Championship. Coming to you from Dallas, Texas, with a 3-car battle for the lead. Mansell still stays in front and now has himself about an 8-car length advantage over the second-place Finnish driver Keke Rosberg, and then the Italian Elio De Angelis maintains third.
Rosberg dropping back into the clutches of Elio De Angelis now. Maybe Rosberg put on such an effort in those 3 or 4 laps there that he's gone and cooked his tyres. There's no doubt about it that the chassis on the Lotus at the moment is better than the Williams chassis. They've had problems with that chassis all year.
Place it is still Elio De Angelis here in race 9 for the World Championship. From here it's on to Great Britain as they're overlapping one of the Arrows cars.
They're overlapping Marc Surer there, and he's a fast enough back marker to be a decided nuisance if they try and lap him. There you see him just been passed by Rosberg, and now Elio De Angelis is going to try and squeeze by him. That's given Nigel Mansell another small break there, giving him a bit of free room between himself and Keke Rosberg.
6th position overall.
No, there's a good shot there. You can really see how the track, in fact, is braking.